2. Apologies. I was sitting on the bench just outside the principal's office, crying like a little baby. I couldn't believe that this was happening, and I kept whispering to myself over and over again, I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. The word whispering comes from the word whisper. To whisper, it means to speak softly, using one's breath rather than one's throat. When you are embarrassed or when you don't want others to hear you speak, so we whisper. And here, Mark was whispering, I'm so stupid to himself. It was Uncle Jake's first day in town for summer vacation, and he was picking me up from the principal's office. He did so much for me last summer. He taught me how to swim and how to study. He got me into jiu-jitsu. He also put me on a good workout program so I could actually do pull-ups. He turned me from a wimpy kid to a warrior kid. And this is how I pay him back? By getting in trouble and getting sent home from school? The more I thought about it, the more I knew how badly I had let him down, and the worse I felt. On top of all that, what kind of punishment was I about to get? Was I going to be grounded for the whole summer? The word grounded here is an adjective. It means someone is being restricted from leaving home. So here, Mark's punishment, he expects, will be to be grounded at home for not having his freedom of going out. Longer? Maybe until Christmas? Would I even be allowed to celebrate Christmas anymore? And Uncle Jake, was he even going to talk to me now that I had done this? I put my head in my hands and sat there, crying. Then I heard a familiar voice. How you doing, Mark? I looked up. It was Uncle Jake. He didn't even look mad. He didn't look upset. He just looked, well, kind of normal, I guess. But I didn't feel too normal. Not good, Uncle Jake, not good, I told him. Tears running down my face. All right, well, let's get you out of here, and then you can tell me what's going on. Uncle Jake stepped into the principal's office and shut the door. I could hear them talking, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. A couple of minutes later, Uncle Jake walked out. Come on, Uncle Jake said. Take me to Miss Carpenter's room. But I'm supposed to go home, I told him. Not until you say sorry to Miss Carpenter and Nathan. But I got kicked out. The principal called the classroom. Nathan and Miss Carpenter will be waiting outside. But Nathan is the whole reason this happened, I protested. Protested here, it's a verb. To protest means to express an objection to what someone has said or done. And here, Mark, it's protesting. It was Nathan's behavior that got him in this trouble. So he protested the fact that Uncle Jake asked him to apologize to Nathan. If you were Mark, would you be willing to apologize to someone who got you in trouble? Comment down below. No, he's not. You can't blame other people for the things that you do. Blame is a verb. Blaming someone for something that they have done. So in other words, to hold someone else responsible for their behavior, to blame. You are the reason. You lost your temper. The word temper here, it's a noun. It means a person's state of mind. Here, Mark lost his temper because of Nathan's behavior. He ended up made a bad decision of throwing that papier-mâché at Miss Carpenter and got himself in this whole fiasco. You lost control. Because of that, you made a bad decision. Now you're going to apologize, and you better mean it. Then I will take you home. Got it? Yes, Uncle Jake, I got it. As soon as we turned the corner down the hallway, I could see Miss Carpenter and Nathan standing alone outside the classroom. I held my head down in shame. When we got close enough, we stopped in front of them. Go ahead, Uncle Jake said. I looked up at Miss Carpenter. I felt horrible. I really was sorry that I hit her with the pumpkin. So I told her that, I'm sorry, Miss Carpenter. Okay, Mark, I'm really disappointed, but I accept your apology. Don't let it happen again. I won't, Miss Carpenter, I promise. Then I glanced at Nathan. He had a little smirk on his face. The word smirk, it's a noun. It's a type of smile that can be really irritating for others, like an evil, a silly type of smile. And in this context, Nathan knows that he got Mark into trouble, so he was very proud of himself that he's managed to do that. And he had that smirk smile. In other words, a smug smile on his face. See what I've done? That, as you can imagine, it's really, really irritating. I didn't want to say I was sorry to him. Why would I? He was the whole reason I was there. And, said Uncle Jake, I stood there. This was awful. I had to either apologize to my worst enemy for something he made me do, or not do what my Uncle Jake, the best uncle in the world, was telling me to do. Uncle Jake followed up sternly. Mark, go ahead and apologize. This was one of those situations where I realized Uncle Jake was going to get me to do what he wanted me to do, whether I liked it or not. So I swallowed hard, looked at the ground, and mumbled, I'm sorry. The word mumbled is a verb. It means to say something very quietly, in a way that is difficult for others to understand. Earlier, we talked about the word whisper. So what is the difference between whisper and mumble? There's a slight difference. When you whisper, you say something very quietly in a soft voice, whereas mumbling, it's you don't want others to hear you say something. So this is whispering. Hey, I'm doing this video for you. But mumbling would be, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Something like that. So in other words, a whisper is something you intend to have heard. And a mumble is something you say when you don't want to be heard or don't have the courage to say out loud. Like when Mark trying to apologize to Nathan. I'm sorry. Actually, he doesn't want to say it because he was not willing to say it because he thought the whole incident was because of Nathan. But Uncle Jake asked him to do it, so he has to do it. That's why he was not, there's a sense of unwillingness in here. So he mumbled, What? Said Uncle Jake. Louder. There was no getting around this, and I figured I was in big enough trouble anyway. So I took a deep breath, looked at Nathan in the eyes, and said, I'm sorry, Nathan. Nathan's smirk turned into a smile, and he said, I bet you are. He had barely finished those words when Miss Carpenter cut him off quickly. Nathan James, you cut it with that attitude and accept Mark's apology now. Here, to cut it comes from the phrase cut it out. It's a phrasal verb to means to remove something, to stop something. So here, Miss Carpenter asked Nathan to cut it out with his attitude towards Mark. Be nice, to stop with this undesirable behavior. He knew he could get in trouble too. So he stepped back, looked up at me and said, Apology accepted, Mark. It didn't sound very convincing. The word convincing is the present participle, and here it's being used as an adjective. So here Mark believes that it's not very convincing for Nathan to really accept Mark's apology. So as you have just heard, I used ed whenever I refer to a person. So Nathan, it's not convinced, but it is convincing, or it is not convincing. So quick tips, when it's referring to something, then we use ing. Okay, it is boring, it is convincing, it is interesting. But when we use it to refer to a person, use the past participle ed. For example, I am interested, he is convinced. But it was enough for Miss Carpenter, who then put her arm around Nathan, thanked Uncle Jake, and guided Nathan back into the classroom. Once Nathan was in the classroom, Miss Carpenter bent down and looked me in the eyes. You are better than that, Mark. At least you should be. She looked really disappointed in me. and I felt like I really let her down. The phrase let down, it's actually a phrasal verb of let. It means someone failed to live up to certain people's expectation. And here, Mark let Miss Carpenter down based on what he did in the classroom with Nathan. And Mark also let Uncle Jake down because he lost his temper when he faced situations like this. He couldn't control his own emotions. So in other words, to let someone down means to disappoint someone. Then she turned, walked into the classroom, and shut the door. "Come on, Mark," Uncle Jake said as he spun around and headed toward the exit. "Let's get you out of here." We walked down the corridor, out the door, through the courtyard, and into the parking lot without saying a word. I didn't think Uncle Jake would ever talk to me again. This summer was getting worse by the minute. Alright, so we finished chapter 2. Let me know in the comment, what do you think of chapter 2? I hope you look forward to chapter 3, where Mark and Uncle Jake will be having their talk in the car on their way home. Also, please feel free to let me know if you like this sort of style of read aloud, where I read out the story and in between, whenever I come across vocabulary that I think is very useful, then I will stop and pause and explain along the way. Do let me know in the comment section whether or not this is good for you or it's actually a distraction, because sometimes I know some people don't prefer to be stopped midway in a story, which I totally understand. However, this whole Warrior Kids series, I want it to be a means to learn language at the same time, learning its mindset behind. So please do let me know in the comment this type of styles of explanation works for you. Hey, I hope you enjoyed chapter 2. Were you surprised that Uncle Jake asked Mark to apologize to Nathan? If you were Mark, would you be willing to do that? Let me know in the comment section, how would you feel if you were Mark at the time? And now I've prepared 6 questions. See if you can answer them. Number 1, why do you think Mark was crying on the way home with Uncle Jake? Number 2, before Uncle Jake takes Mark home, what did he want Mark to do first? Number 3, why did Uncle Jake ask Mark to apologize to Nathan, even though, according to Mark, that Nathan is the whole reason this happened? Number 4, do you think it's easy for Mark to apologize to Miss Carpenter? Why and why not? Number 5, was it easy for Mark to apologize to Nathan? Why or why not? Number 6, why was Miss Carpenter disappointed in Mark in this pumpkin incident? I hope you enjoyed the story so far. I will see you again next time when we move on to chapter 3. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye for now.